The question of who the NFL GOAT at the moment right now is very obvious, and 5-time Super Bowl MVP Tom Brady. In addition to his very impressive trophy case, he also has career totals that overshadow the competition completely. He leads in every passing category besides passer rating, and by a wide margin. About 600 more completions than the second place Drew Brees, 9,000 more passing yards than the second place Drew Brees, and about 80 more passing touchdowns than Drew Brees. I mean, in every single statistical category, Tom Brady will have the lead just because of his absurd longevity. And if you thought his regular season stats were insane and far above the competition, his postseason stats are even more absurd. For example, Brady has 88 postseason passing touchdowns. Incredible. The second place holder for the reward only has 46, and that is Patrick Mahomes. A massive separation between first and second place. Brady has a whopping 13,400 passing yards in the playoffs alone, with the second place Peyton Manning only having 7,339. Brady's 15 Pro Bowls are the most by any player across any position. As far as total career wins, Brady has 251, which is 30 more than the second place Adam Vinatieri, who has 221, who was also a Patriot that Tom Brady led to this win total. And his 35 postseason wins, clearly the most all-time, with once again Vinatieri being second with only 21 wins due to Brady's success. Yes, wins are a team accomplishment, but it's clearly led by the most important position on the field, the quarterback. I mean, all these stats seem absolutely untouchable. Clearly the greatest of all time in NFL history, with absolutely nobody threatening to take his place. Except one player, Patrick Mahomes. How would it be possible for Patrick Mahomes to somehow top Tom Brady as the undisputed GOAT in NFL history? Today we'll be taking a deep delve into how Patrick Mahomes could possibly be the next greatest of all time, but also realizing how this is a very difficult and improbable task for him to complete. Well, let's look at where we stand today. Obviously, the biggest NFL news now is Patrick Mahomes losing and playing pretty poorly in the latest Super Bowl, Super Bowl 59, against the Philadelphia Eagles that took place last week. This has already been the second time that Mahomes has blown out on the big stage, with his first blowout Super Bowl loss being against the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers 4 years ago. Not only did this game thwart what would be Patrick Mahomes' fourth title, it also stopped the Chiefs in earning the coveted three-peat, winning 3 Super Bowls all in succession, which has never been done in the Super Bowl era. This would have been absolutely huge for Mahomes' legacy, but we'll have to wait and see if the three-peat is ever possible in the future. Despite Mahomes finishing the game with a decent 257 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, it's important to note that he only got these stats after the game was already well out of hand, down 34-0 in the third quarter, where at that point, already 43 minutes into game time, Patrick Mahomes only completed 50% of his passes, a mere 61 yards, and already threw 2 picks. So this is definitely a performance that is much worse than the stats show. But obviously, despite this outlier performance, Mahomes has had an incredible start to his career, and clearly the best start to any career in NFL history. So it only makes sense that he has the greatest chance to surpass Tom Brady as the NFL's GOAT. Mahomes has played 8 seasons in the NFL, and if we compare his 8 seasons to Brady's first 8 seasons in the league, it is absurdly lopsided. Mahomes leads in every single statistical category, both in career totals and in awards. He has a better overall record of 89-23 compared to 86-24, a better completion percentage by 3%, 6,000 more passing yards, averaging 50 more passing yards a game, a whopping 48 more passing touchdowns while throwing 12 less interceptions, a 102 passer rating compared to a 93 passer rating, and obviously in the rushing category, he blows Brady out of the water with 1,700 more rushing yards and 9 more rushing touchdowns. And then you look at the awards. They both have won the same amount of Super Bowls to this point, but Mahomes has 2 more Pro Bowls and 1 more All-Pro. But the difference maker here is the additional Super Bowl MVP by Mahomes, and more importantly, the additional MVP. And that was just looking at the regular season stats. Now, Tom Brady is claimed to be the best postseason performer of all time, which I do believe he is. But once again, in this early 8-year span, Mahomes blows him out of the water once again, even in the playoffs. Mahomes has played in 4 more playoff games, but 1,900 more passing yards and a 46-10 touchdown interception ratio compared to 26-12, a huge improvement. This means his pass rating is better by 17, and Mahomes is clearly a more efficient passer than Brady throughout his career. However, there is a big difference when it comes to Super Bowl performance, Tom Brady's saving grace up to this point in his comparison with Patrick Mahomes. Although Mahomes does average 260 passing yards a game compared to Brady's 250, Brady is a much more efficient 7 touchdowns to 1 ratio compared to Mahomes' 10 to 7. Not to mention that Mahomes' passer rating in the Super Bowl is an 87, with Brady being a 101.5, a noticeable difference. So the one thing that Brady has on Mahomes up to this point in their 8 seasons is the fact that he is a much better Super Bowl performer, which is the biggest game in the NFL. And remember, this is only including Brady's first 4 Super Bowls. His statistical prime was later on in his career, so we haven't even seen the peak of Brady on the big stage. But we'll talk about Brady's total career accomplishments later on. So up to this 8 seasons mark, Mahomes literally owns Brady in every single category besides Super Bowl performances. Obviously, if Mahomes played at the same level for another 15 years in his career like Brady did, he would be the undisputed GOAT. There's no arguing it whatsoever. But this is the main undecided factor in Mahomes' argument to see if he can truly become the GOAT. How will the rest of Mahomes' career play out, and is he going to match Brady's outer-worldly longevity? First of all, let's look at Brady's stats. Brady was no ordinary athlete. Research shows that generally the ages of 27 to 31 is often the prime years of an NFL quarterback, the best they're going to play in their entire career. The 8 seasons of Brady that we already mentioned take place from when he was age 22 to age 30. So surely, up to this point in Brady's career, we've already seen his prime. There's no way he can continue putting numbers up to that caliber for the remainder of his career. But that could not be further from the truth. Brady played significantly better than he did in the final 2/3 of his career than his first third. Let's compare the seasonal average of Brady's stats from 2001 to 2007 compared to his stats from the remainder of his career from 2009 to 2022. And I'm obviously not including 2008 considering he suffered an ACL injury in the first quarter of the season. So in his 17-game average, Brady saw an 800-yard per season increase while throwing 5 more touchdowns and 3 less picks per season. Throughout the rest of his career, he also averaged 50 more passing yards per game and a passer rating that is better by 6. Now, if you thought those regular season improvements by Tom Brady were very impressive, take a look at his playoff stats where he saw even more improvement by a large margin. Once again, let's compare the 17-game average from his playoffs from 2001 to 2007 from his playoffs in 2009 to 2022. It's a day and night difference. A 17-game average of 5,180 yards, 34 touchdowns to only 15 picks. And during this time, he was averaging 304 yards per game in the playoffs with a 91 passer rating. Comparing that to his earlier playoff runs, that is 1,200 more yards per 17 games, 8 more passing touchdowns, and he averaged 70 more passing yards per game. These averages go toe-to-toe with Mahomes' current playoff averages for his entire career. You could definitely argue that Mahomes has a little bit better stats in these periods considering Brady does have 30 more passing yards per game, but Mahomes averaging pretty much the same amount of touchdowns as Brady but on less interceptions, better completion percentage, and an overall better passer rating of 15, which is noticeable. But Brady did this over 14 seasons compared to Mahomes' 8. Longevity is a huge, crucial part of somebody's legacy. And the truth is, we have never seen an NFL player take it up another level in his old age like Brady did to that extent. So the real question is, will Mahomes also have this absurd longevity that Brady had while continuing to put up his historic numbers? Looking at the career totals, Brady has 89,214 passing yards with Mahomes having 32,352. Brady has 649 passing touchdowns and Mahomes with only 245. So yes, Brady still has a huge advantage, almost 3 times the amount of stats still, and Mahomes is already 8 years into his career. But once again, Mahomes is easily on pace to break these records if he plays for as long as Brady played. But will that happen? Obviously, only time will tell, but if I were to guess, I would say absolutely not. Brady has the best second and third wind of a career that you'll ever see in NFL history. And a lot of this was because of his play style. Brady is probably the smartest player of the game's history, and he wasn't really dependent on moving around and scrambling that much as Mahomes is. As the season progressed, he became much more knowledgeable about the game, knew how to win games the right way. And this isn't saying that Mahomes necessarily isn't a smart player and he can't do this on his own, but anybody who watches the game of football can see that Mahomes depends a lot on his athleticism. He is a freak of nature, and he rightfully uses his talents. I mean, he scrambles out of the pocket to find open receivers. He has a very good flexibility, which is why we see a lot of these passing angles that other quarterbacks simply cannot make. But with that being said, these athletic traits do diminish with a player's age. Mahomes is only half a year away from already reaching the age 30. Time is flying by. So we're really starting to see what will be a constant playoff performer as long as he's in the league. But to say he's going to do it as long as Brady did it with Brady's super reserved play style is very unlikely. Not to mention Brady's performance improved after his prime age years, when I really don't see that happening with Mahomes. And that, in my opinion, is what really separates the discussion between Brady and Mahomes. The longevity of Brady will keep his GOAT status cemented even when Mahomes' career is finished. Brady played up until 45 years old, and he didn't stutter throughout any of those years. He played at a high level until his retirement, and heck, he probably could still play if he wanted to today. And those are just standards that I don't see Mahomes reaching, sadly. Additionally, you have to beat the best to be the best. As far as head-to-head games are concerned, Brady and Mahomes are both 3-3 against each other. However, Brady is 2-0 against Mahomes in the playoffs when it matters most, and he did it on big stages such as the Super Bowl and the 2018 AFC Championship game as well. Mahomes has only lost 4 playoff games in his career, and Brady is responsible for half of them. Now, I know some people are saying, oh, then why isn't Eli Manning the GOAT? He beat Brady on the big stage twice, which is very true, but that is also a very flawed, silly argument at the same time, considering Eli Manning does not own anything else on Brady in his career. Every record, every total accolade Brady owns on Manning, and it really shouldn't even be a discussion. And also, as every GOAT has across all sports, Brady has his signature games. The iconic 28-3 Super Bowl comeback, where he also broke the record for passing yards in a Super Bowl. Not to mention that Brady would later break this record in the very next Super Bowl against the Eagles with 505 yards. You also have legacy performances like his 4-touchdown Super Bowl against the Seahawks, his 24-point comeback against the Broncos, the snow game against the Titans where he had 380 yards and 6 passing touchdowns, and he was taken out with 12 minutes left in the third. Games like these where you can really see a player perform at such an unbelievably high level, you can just point to them and say that they are the GOAT. Now, obviously, Mahomes does have some signature moments, such as the comeback against the Texans in the divisional, and his overtime drive in the Super Bowl against the Niners. But even then, name a game that you can point to Mahomes and say, this is the performance of a GOAT. He doesn't have that one signature performance that really puts him in that conversation. And I'm not saying that he won't have any. Once again, he's still 29. There are years to come. He will have his performances. But there are certain games with Brady that you just know that is the greatest player to ever step on the football field. So in my opinion, to settle the discussion, will Mahomes ever become the GOAT? I think it's very improbable, but once again, not impossible. We've never seen a player with this start in their career. I would say that roughly, if you were to put a percentage on it, I'd say there's a 20% chance that Mahomes does finish his career and people regard him as the greatest to ever lace up. My personal prediction is that he will have 2 more Super Bowl rings in his career, ending with 5. He'll win the MVPs in all of them. And I think he'll have 1 more regular season MVP, putting him at 3 just like Brady. Career total wise, I would be super surprised if he doesn't finish in the top 3 in passing yards and passing touchdowns, and I think he'll finish with the 2nd best passer rating in NFL history, only behind Aaron Rodgers. And there's no doubt in my mind that he will retire with the resume of at least being the 2nd best player in NFL history, because at this point in his career, he's already pretty close. I hope you guys did enjoy this breakdown as of whether Mahomes will become the GOAT or not. Obviously, I cannot tell you that. Time will tell. But that is just my prediction, looking at the stats and looking at the realization that Brady had such an absurdly long prime. It will be hard to top. Not impossible, but very difficult. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment what your opinions are on this GOAT race, and feel free to comment any other video suggestions below. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys in the next Heaps video.